Good evening, everyone. My name is Maureen McCarthy, and I am the president of the Friends of the School of Education, an affinity board of the Salem State University Alumni Association. As such, it is my pleasure to welcome you to tonight's presentation, Owning It, Caring for the Self and Others, by Dr. Theresa Melito-Conners, an SSU alumna. Dr. MC, as she is known, is the founder of Dr. MC's Self-Care Cabaret, which is designed to assist us in understanding the aspects of self-care. Tonight's topic is mindset and how even minor changes to it can make a big difference in being able to care appropriately for ourselves and others. Dr. MC has a bachelor's degree in theater studies from Emerson College, a master's degree in school counseling from Salem State University, and a doctorate in educational leadership from Lesley University. Dr. MC has an eclectic set of skills which she utilizes very successfully in her varied experiences in counseling adolescents, choreographing professional productions, and teaching us the importance of taking care of ourselves. In addition to all of these, Dr. MC is an administrator in special education for a school district, a member of the Parent and Community Education Advisory Council for the Department of Elementary and Secondary Education, and the producer of her own podcast, Dr. MC's Self-Care Cabaret. Dr. MC, the floor is yours.
Awesome. Thank you so much for that beautiful introduction, Maureen. I appreciate it. And welcome, folks, for joining us here this afternoon, or this evening, really. And hi, Tammy. I see at least one familiar face. That's always fun. So yeah, let's get started. So I don't really think I have anything else to say to introduce myself other than I'm Dr. MC, and let's get rolling. So yeah, we're going to focus around a growth mindset tonight and talk about the difference between a growth mindset and a fixed mindset, and really why we should care about that and why that's important. But before we get started with that, I want to talk a little bit about the remaining pieces of the series. So this is a 4-part series, as Maureen mentioned, with Salem State, in partnership with Salem State. We've already had sessions 1 and 2. The first one was on kind of evaluating your self-care routine. The second one was on actually an overview of all the 10 domains of self-care and how to assess your strengths and weaknesses. The second session was on the intersection of trauma, resilience, and self-care. And of course, tonight we're here with growth mindset. The next session on April 7th, again at 6:30, is going to be on examining unconscious bias, microaggressions, and the power of language. So we'll talk about that next time. But if you missed parts 1 and 2 and you're just here joining me tonight for part 3, parts 1 and 2 are still available on the Salem State University website, where you can access those at a later date and get caught up on all the great things we've been sharing and talking about. So now, before we get started talking about growth mindset, I recognize that things are pretty crazy right now in our world for a multitude of reasons. And I just want to have a quick pause and a check-in with folks. We're going to do a self-compassion touch break. So whatever that means for you. So anytime we touch our body, you have the feeling of touch, it actually activates the care system in your body, or your parasympathetic nervous system, which is your opposite of your of your fight and flight response. It's your rest and digest response. So everybody might be feeling a little heightened right now, a little elevated, a little added stress. So I want to make sure that we start from a place of calm and that we just take a moment to kind of check in. So if it's comfortable for you, I invite you to maybe place a hand on your heart or play around with this. We'll talk about some other options, but if that doesn't feel good to you, don't do that. But I tend to like one hand on my heart and one on my belly. And we're just going to take a few deep breaths. And I'd like you to breathe in through your nose and out through your mouth. Now, try to make those exhales longer than your inhale to help really activate that parasympathetic nervous system. So if you can close your eyes or lower your gaze, again, if that feels comfortable for you at this moment, wherever you are. And we're just going to notice our breath for a moment as we're sitting here, feeling our body supported by the chair that we're on, our feet firmly pressed on the ground beneath us. And let's just breathe in through the nose and a long exhale. Let's do that again. Let's breathe in through the nose and a long exhale. Let's do that one more time. In through the nose and a nice long exhale. It's a really great way to just kind of quickly bring a sense of calm into your life. So anytime you're feeling that stress rising or feeling a little heightened by maybe what you're seeing on the news or what you're seeing on social media or anything like that, just take a moment to do that. It can be a really powerful practice. And when we talk about kind of shifting our mindset and developing a growth mindset, you may have, qualities of a fixed mindset. And when we start to do this work and then we want to promote it for others, we also have to make sure we're taking care of ourselves in the process. So there's always a through line of self-care, no matter what. And it's certainly in everything that I do. So if you didn't, jumping ahead, if for the self-compassion touch break, maybe the hand on your chest and on your belly you didn't like that. So I invite you next time you do it to think about what maybe feels good. So maybe play around. Maybe you want your hands on your cheeks, or maybe you want to give yourself a hug when you do it. Or maybe you gently make circles on your chest as you do it. Or maybe both hands on your abdomen, or both hands in your lap, or your hands facing up on your lap, or facing down, or your hands cupped together. Whatever it is, play around with it, make it your own, and really get in touch with what feels good for you, and then do more of that. All right. Also, I wanted to share this slide because we just tend to be hard on ourselves in general. And none of this, when I talk about, examining our unconscious bias or developing a growth mindset or looking at trauma and maybe considering, how trauma has impacted our own lives and our self-care routines, it's not to make anybody feel bad. That's certainly not the takeaway. So I just like this little image. I didn't create this little graphic here on the screen, but when we think about just coming at it from a place of compassion with ourselves, your mistakes are part of your learning. People really like this one, to accept your weaknesses as your features. And there's no right or wrong way to do things. Stand up for what you believe in. Learn from people who criticize you. Look at your past as an adventurous biography. Don't underestimate your talent. Express your anger in a creative way, and surround yourself with people who want you to succeed. So it's just a nice little reminder of how we can not be so hard on ourselves. So now let's consider our mindset. So typically folks have, there's growth mindset and there's fixed mindset. And this is all rooted in the research by Dr. Carol Dweck. If you're not familiar with her work and you have not read the book here on the screen called Mindset, I do encourage you to take a look at that, because it is, it's a really good book. And so much of what we'll talk about today is a few books that I use to kind of pull this together, but that is definitely a major influence in this area. So we're going to just kind of consider our own mindset. And if you want to comment in the chat, you certainly can. You don't have to. We're going to look at a couple of questions here. So I want you to tell me, or note it to yourself, if you think your intelligence is something very basic about you that you can't change very much. Yeah, fixed. Yep, that's a fixed mindset perspective. All right, let's look at another one. You can always substantially change how intelligent you are. Fixed or growth, what is that one? I am monitoring the chat too. Yeah, growth. Awesome. All right, let's look at a couple more. Yeah. No matter how much intelligence you have, you can always change it quite a bit. Yeah, growth. Awesome. Only a few people will be truly good at sports. You have to be born with it. Yeah. That's a fixed perspective. And the last one, music talent can be learned by anyone. That fixed or growth. Yeah, growth. Awesome. I see we have some pros in the audience already. That's great. So what is a growth mindset? So this is the formal definition by Carol Dweck. A growth mindset is when students and you understand that their abilities can be developed. So this is, I don't know what folks do for work. I know some folks are in the education arena, which is awesome. But if you're not, it still applies to you for your own functionality and how you show up in the world, whether it is with a growth or a fixed mindset, or if you work with people or clients or students or children or your own children, what you foster in them can be, this is very relevant. So people are born with unique genetic structures, meaning that they may initially be better than others at different things. However, those with a growth mindset believe one can always improve, catch up, or even surpass others' natural abilities. This is where teachers, if you happen to be a teacher, can play or a coach of some sort, can play a crucial role in shaping a student's confidence and outlook on school through productive, continuous feedback. And it is crucial that teachers who understand the growth mindset do everything in their power to unlock that learning. So, what is a fixed mindset? In a fixed mindset, people believe that their basic qualities like intelligence, talent, they're just fixed traits. They spend their time documenting intelligence or talent instead of developing them. They also believe that talent alone creates success without effort. And people with a fixed mindset avoid challenges because it makes them feel like they're not talented or smart. They lose interest when the work gets too hard, and they give up easily. So what if you have aspects of both? That's okay. Typically, everyone has a mixture of both. And you may already know in yourself from just hearing those definitions and think about different areas of your life where you may tend to lean towards a fix or where you tend to lean towards a growth mindset. But we tend to have different aspects of growth and fix on different areas of our life. But whatever mindset you have, that is likely going to guide that aspect of your life. There's no shame in admitting this, of course, or acknowledging it. But you do have to accept you do not have to accept your fixed mindset. You do not have to allow it to show up and rule any areas of your life. So why does this matter? Why do we care? Well, the research shows that the view you adopt for yourself profoundly affects the way you lead your life. So people with a growth mindset tend to be more resilient when they're faced with setbacks and obstacles. Everyone experiences setbacks and obstacles and challenges. It's part of being human, right? So those with a growth mindset are going to be able to overcome that, are going to be able to navigate that better than those with a fixed mindset. So you may be wondering, so do people with a growth mindset just think they're going to be the next Einstein or Beethoven? Well, no, not necessarily, but they believe that a person's true potential is unknown and unknowable. I love that idea. Think about that for yourself. Your true potential is unknown and unknowable. It's impossible to foresee what can be accomplished with years of passion, toil, and training. Think about a baby. What happens when a baby starts to learn to crawl, stand, walk, etc.? What happens? If you want to throw it in the chat, if you have any thoughts. Their world opens up to them. Lovely. Yes. What physically happens to them when they first try to stand or walk? They fall a lot. Yes, absolutely. They're very unsure. But what do they keep doing? They just give up. They keep getting up. Yeah, absolutely. So they fall multiple times, but effort keeps coming. And look how much babies accomplish in such a short period of time. Those very early developmental stages, they learn to control their body, to laugh, to talk, to walk, to crawl. If babies, this is a great example of a growth mindset. If babies had a fixed mindset right out of the womb, they wouldn't bother. They'd just be like, all right, forget it. That walking thing didn't work out so well. Standing things, not for me. I'm not doing it. So you can think of a baby when you think of a great example of a growth mindset, because they're willing to fall and get right back up again until they master it. So we're going to talk about and do a couple more just kind of assessments here on where you fall. So these are a couple of questions about intelligence. So I'm just going to give you the questions and you can decide if you agree or disagree with the following statement. Your intelligence is something very basic about you that you can't change very much. Disagree. Okay. You can learn new things, but you can't really change how intelligent you are. You don't have to put it in the chat if you don't want to. Just keep it in your head. Like question 1, I agree, I disagree. Question 2, agree, disagree. Question 3, no matter how much intelligence you have, you can always change it quite a bit. We agree, disagree. Question 4, you can always substantially change how intelligent you are. Agree, disagree. So now think about where you fell in those 4 questions. So questions 1 and 2 were a fixed mindset question, whereas 3 and 4 reflect more of a growth mindset. So just think about where you lean as it relates to intelligence. Because again, we may lean different ways when it comes to different aspects. So now let's look at a couple about personality and character. Another area. First question. You are a certain kind of person, and there's not much that can be done to really change that. Do you agree with that? Disagree with that? No matter what kind of person you are, you can always change substantially. Do you agree? Disagree? Okay. You can do things differently, but the important parts of who you are can't really be changed. You can always change basic things about the kind of person you are. Okay, so let's see. I see some folks put it in the chat. So questions on this one, questions 1 and 3 were fixed mindset thoughts. 2 and 4 are more growth mindset. So you can see sometimes this gets a little tricky. Some of these ideas are kind of deep rooted into our belief system. So when we start to think about these things differently, it can be really powerful. And shifting your mindset is like ridiculously powerful. So who do we know with a growth mindset? Lots of people, really. When we think about some of the greats, like Muhammad Ali there on the screen in his fight with Sonny Liston, nobody bet on Ali during that fight. Everybody was against him. The arena was practically empty and no one was betting on Ali in that fight. Michael Jordan, I think he was cut from his high school basketball team, wasn't he? Christopher Reeve, after the tragic accident he surpassed any doctor and anyone's belief of what he would accomplish after that in terms, and actually helped kind of redo science as it moved forward, the whole area of science, by him continuously trying to heal from that accident. Lucille Ball, I mean, she smashed all sorts of glass ceilings in her life. Meryl Streep was told she wasn't pretty enough to be an actress. Babe Ruth was told he was going to be no good. I mean, all these people, when we think about the greats, and we could probably add several more to this list. Tom Brady, nobody expected him to be the GOAT when he was backup for Drew Bledsoe back in the day. Nobody expected that. I think he was like, I don't know, I forget exactly, but definitely not what we then got to see as a tremendous athlete. So when we think about these people, we can see where there was, there might have been some natural ability there, but there was also a lot of effort, a lot of, continuous growth and growth mindset. So think about your own heroes, and maybe not even celebrities, but just people you look up to. Do you think this person is someone with extraordinary abilities who achieved whatever they've achieved with little effort? Lin-Manuel Miranda is definitely one of my heroes. I think he is a genius. And I know from the little bits I know about him that he's definitely put in a lot of effort into his work, of course. So if you start looking into that, and again, we could come up with lots of other examples. Chances are there was tremendous effort that went into their accomplishments. So why do we care? What are the consequences of beliefs and mindset? So when we think about how we set goals, well, and I know a lot of the examples here are kind of school-based. I mean, I am an educator, so it's where I tend to find comfort. But what is the goal? So if you're looking at goals and you have a growth mindset, the goal is learning. It's much more important for me to learn things in class than to get the best grades. Where if you are more on a fixed mindset, you're going to be more concerned with looking smart than actually the act of learning. The main thing I want to do in my schoolwork is show how good I am. When it comes to effort, and you can think about this in your own lives too. So when it comes to effort, with a growth mindset, the harder you work at something, the better you'll be at it. Someone with a growth mindset values effort, whereas someone with a fixed mindset does not. They don't really care about the effort. To tell you the truth, when I work hard at my schoolwork, it makes me feel like I'm not that smart. And the reaction to failure. When we have a growth mindset, the reaction to failure is, I'll work harder. I will work harder in this class from now on. Whereas someone with a fixed mindset is going to give up and just not continue to try. So this is a great little chart here. And if folks want, if anybody watching this tonight or watches it in the future wants a reference sheet where I'll share some of these slides with you, you can head on over to my website. We'll talk about this at the end too, but drmcselfcare.com/resources. And I will send you, I included this slide in the reference sheet because it might be a little hard for folks to see, but this is just a really nice graphic. I did not create this graphic, but of the two mindsets kind of side by side. So if we look at fixed, in a fixed mindset, intelligence is static. In a growth mindset, intelligence is developed, which leads to a desire to learn and therefore a tendency to embrace challenges, persist in the face of setbacks, see effort as the path to mastery, learn from criticism, find lessons and inspiration in the success of others, and as a result, they will achieve more. They will be higher achieving and more successful. It gives a greater sense of free will. Whereas, of course, in the fixed mindset, they're going to avoid challenges. They're going to give up easily. They're going to see effort as, why bother? You ignore useful feedback and feel threatened even by the success of others, which as a result, they'll likely plateau early and achieve less than their full potential. And they'll have kind of a detrimental outlook on the world also. It's not very inspiring to live your life solely by a fixed mindset perspective. And when we think about self-care too, and for those that have sat through several of my self-care workshops, you know that this all intersects. Your view of the world, this starts to get into not only your self-compassion domain, but you're also your spiritual domain, how you show up in the world, what inspires you, how you see your purpose, how you set goals for yourself. So it's all woven together. Okay, so what happens to achievement? So what do we think when it comes to a fixed mindset? What happens to achievement? Does it go up? Does it go down? It goes down or stays put at best. Yeah. Down it goes. Achieve the minimum. Don't try to go beyond that. Yep, that's it. When we have a growth, what do we think happens to achievement? Sky's the limit. Yes, absolutely. Love it. Remember, it is unknown and unknowable. Ideally, it goes up. That can depend on circumstances. Sure, I would agree with that there are certain circumstances. I'm sure it doesn't mean that everybody that tries hard is going to be the next Muhammad Ali, but generally speaking, it will go up. Awesome. So when faced with a challenge or failure, the research shows that those with a growth mindset experience a higher level of achievement as opposed to those with a fixed mindset facing the same challenge or obstacle. So if you think about, if you want to dig deeper into what we can do tonight in the period of time that we'll share together, but you can, Carol Dweck's book does go much deeper into this and really get into, and you can also look at a lot of the studies that she's done and really talk about the outcomes. It's very fascinating. So when we start to think about this, our word choice matters. So again, if you're a teacher and you're working with students, this is really important. This is also important for yourself. When you think about how you talk about yourself and your efforts, and even though either how you talk about yourself, even internally as well as externally, because sometimes those little voices in our head are not super supportive. So when we say things like, I can't do it, well, you can talk back to that with, I'm on the right track. Or one of my favorites, and we'll talk about this in a bit, is to add the word yet. Can't do it. Can't do it. Can't do it yet. You're almost there. So, or I give up. That's it. No, let me try another way. Or I'm a natural. How about I improve with practice is a more growth mindset perspective. Or this is too hard versus this may take some effort. I made a mistake. Mistakes help me learn. I'm not good at this. I am just getting started. Even when you say these things, you almost feel a difference in your body. Now that might sound a little weird, but I think back to early on in COVID when folks were the first, like real early on. So just about 2 years ago at this point, but when things were shut down and folks were staying home and all of that. And people were saying things like, I'm stuck at home. Stuck at home. That's a very fixed perspective. And I recognize that what I'm about to say in my shifting that to more growth perspective does come from a place of privilege. I recognize not everyone is safe at home. However, if you shifted that thinking from I'm stuck at home to I'm safe at home, that's really what was happening for many of us. You feel a difference in your body. when you can shift that mindset. So even here with these examples, I can't do it. I'm on the right track. Like, it feels different to even say it. So you might start to catch that with yourself when you start to say things like, oh, I can't do this. This is so hard. See if you can start to shift that language even for yourself. See what happens. This is one of my favorite things. Got to watch out for the shoulds when we think about language, because the word should tends to be rooted in just making us feel bad. It's not a growth mindset perspective. It's not an owning it perspective. So when you tell yourself you should do something, what you're really saying is that your efforts aren't valuable. What you're done, you're not good enough because you should do more. We all have goals, and that's great, but we don't want them to be destructive. So instead of saying the word should, see if you can get in touch with why you want to do it and if it's a need or a want. So instead of I should do something, change it to I want or I need. But you have to think about like what it is. So if it's if you ask yourself like, do I need or want to do this? And if the answer is that you need or want to do something, then just own it. Do it, shift it, change it, make it the I want or the I need statement. But if it still really is a should, see if you can get into why, like what is driving that should for you, and how can you get to whatever the root of it is, which is the need or the want. We want to take the power away from shoulds. It doesn't foster a growth mindset. So I always use the example of I should go to the gym. Ugh, who wants to do that? But you might feel like you want to move your body, or you want to get stronger, or you want to be more flexible. Well, okay, fine, then just own it. Instead of making yourself feel bad by saying, I should do this, I should do that. So little shifts that we can make in our language, and just if you can start to catch yourself in these moments, it can be really powerful. I also love sharing this. This is going back to our self-compassion and thinking about that internal dialogue that we have, and even how we talk about ourselves. Because sometimes we're harsh even when we talk about ourselves to other people, or we'll kind of devalue our own efforts and our own abilities, or downplay things because we don't want, for whatever. Yeah, positive self-talk, absolutely. So this was actually an experiment that IKEA did a few years ago in a school. What they did was they took two plants, and these plants had the same conditions and types. So same type of plant, same conditions, same water, same food, same soil, same sunlight, everything the same. They put them in two boxes, like two glass cases, not like, so they, you could see the plants. And on either side of the boxes, there was a speaker where you could talk to the plants. So the students, students and staff, only said negative things to the plant. Negative, bullying, harsh, fixed mindset type of things to the poor plant on the left. The plant on the right got positivity and encouragement and compliments and growth mindset statements and all sorts of wonderful things. And at the end of 30 days, just 1 month, that was the result of the plants on the screen. Yikes. The poor little plant on the left. I just want to give it a hug. It looks so sad. So think about that how you show up in the world. Are you the little plant on the left? Are you berating yourself and bullying yourself and talking badly about yourself and your efforts and your progress? Or are you the plant on the right? Plant on the right has more of a growth mindset than the plant on the left. So keep that in mind. All right, so how do we do this? How do we develop a growth mindset? Well, there's 4 key ways that we can help cultivate a growth mindset in ourselves and others. First, learn to hear your mindset voice. That's probably key. Definitely step one. So get in touch with, like, what is that voice saying? Where do you have areas where it's more fixed? Where do you have areas where it's more growth? And again, not to make anybody feel bad, but just get in touch with what that is. So maybe you look at, are you afraid of failure? Do you back away from a challenge? Do you make excuses when there's a setback? Do you feel angry when receiving constructive feedback? So learn to hear that and learn to get in touch with that. Step 2, recognize that you have a choice. It's up to you for how you determine and interpret challenges and setbacks. So you get to decide what this is. Step 3, talk back to it with a growth mindset voice. So you catch yourself in those moments, correct it. Catch yourself saying, oh, I can't do it. Say it. I can't do it yet, or whatever reframe you want to use. So if you catch yourself, like if you don't try, you can protect yourself and your dignity. Talk back to it. If I don't try, I automatically fail. Or it's not my fault. It was somebody else's fault. Talk back to it. If I don't take responsibility, I can't fix it. Let me listen and learn what I can. So whatever it is, catch those moments and talk back to it. I love when I hear people say things like, I can't do something or something negative. I'm like, yet. Throw yet in there. And then it makes me smile. I don't know if they appreciate it, but I appreciate it. And last step, take the growth mindset action. So take on a challenge wholeheartedly. Learn from your setbacks. Try again. Think of the baby. If the baby had a fixed mindset, they wouldn't get back up again and learn to walk. Acknowledge and embrace imperfections. Like we talked about in the beginning, those are your features. No one else is like you. And view challenges as opportunities. It's an opportunity. You get a new one every day. Get new opportunities to learn and grow and set goals and do really awesome things. So those are the 4 kind of steps that you can take to help develop a growth mindset. So let's think about just a few more aspects of this. So acknowledging and embracing imperfections is a great way to start. View challenges as opportunities. Try different learning tactics. If something isn't working, try something else. Cultivate a sense of purpose. Think about why you get up every day. What is it that you do? If you happen to work in education, this seems to be an area of strength for educators because we know why we do the work that we do. Reward actions, not traits. Take ownership over your attitude. Place the word failing with learning. Celebrate growth with others. Redefine the word genius. Emphasize growth over speed. Disassociate improvement from failure. Use the word yet. That's probably my favorite one. Learn from other people's mistakes. Make a new goal for every goal accomplished. Keep going. Keep rising. Keep setting goals and knocking them down. And place effort before talent. All right. So we're going to practice. We're going to reframe some fixed statements. We're going to reframe them into growth statements. Okay. First one, I'm never going to understand this. That's a fixed statement. How can we make it growth? I need to look at this a different way. Nice. Let's see what the example is. I need to change my strategy or the way I approach this. Very good. See another one. This is so easy for me. That's a fixed statement. How do we make that growth? How can I challenge myself? Nice. I wonder what I can do to make this more challenging. Look at that. Now that I've got this, what's next? Yeah. Awesome. Keep going. I'm not good at this. How can we reframe that? I need more practice. Yet. Absolutely. Tack that yet on there. Boom. Done. Perfect. Or something like, yeah, I'm not good at this yet, but if I keep practicing and try a different strategy, I know I will improve. Awesome. All right. They are so smart. I will never be like that. Oh, how can I learn from them? Nice. If I constantly put forth effort, I know that I will have more success. Yeah, awesome. Oh, I like the how can I learn from that? That's awesome. All right, I'm really good at art. How can we make that more growth? Maybe I should try something new in the art world. Can I share my knowledge? Yeah. I need to continue to work on my technique in art so that I will improve. Yeah. I need to work on expanding what I can already do. Yep. Awesome. Great examples. Math is just not my thing. I got to be honest, when it comes to math, I have a bit of a fixed mindset. Yes. Tammy's with me on that one. 100% when it comes to math. But that's okay. We can work on that. Luckily, I don't have to do a lot of math in real life. Absolutely. Keep letters out of it for sure. We can do the basics. I know how to calculate a sale. When there's a sale going on, 20% off, I'm on it. I know what's going on. All right. How can we reframe that? I need to put more time into practicing these math concepts. Or math is just not my thing yet. We can do that. All right. One more. Oh, I keep messing up. That's fixed. How can we fix that? Make it a growth. I need to try a different approach. Nice. I can learn from my mistakes. Yeah. So, or something like, that was an epic failure. What can I learn from it for my next try? Awesome. We can learn from our mistakes. And you can almost always, even in the craziest, most epic failure, and we've all had them, you can almost always find something that you learned, something good that came out of it, something that you learned that you can carry on to next time when you get back up and give it another go. All right. So I want you to think back, maybe in the Wayback Machine, to your best and worst teachers you had in school. So, who was your favorite? Why were they your favorite? You want to tell me in the chat if you want to share? What are three, maybe if you can think of 3 reasons they were your favorite, and then think of your least favorite or your worst teacher. What were 3 reasons they were not your favorite or just not effective? All right. Tammy in the chat. My high school English teacher, he made me want to learn, want to expand my horizons in literature. He made me want to write just by how he taught. Beautiful. Excellent. chances are he probably had a growth mindset. My math teacher in high school for 3 years was my favorite because she made me believe that I could do math the way she would teach me. I would have keys to the universe in my hands. Beautiful. Yeah. So those teachers that we remember as being the best, they tend to have inspired us. They made us want to learn. They made us enjoy learning, made us want to do well. And what about when we think about the least favorite ones? What were they like? My third grade teacher was punitive. She used to literally tie us to our chairs and make us carry them around as if we were wanderers. She once made a kid put the piece of gum he was chewing on his nose for the rest of the day. Oh, she sounds delightful. Did you go to Catholic school, Tammy? This sounds like what my mother would tell me that the nuns were like. Oh my goodness. She made me want to stay home. Oh, she had a fixed mindset, sounds like. Oh, Miss Armstrong. Yeah. God. That's funny. Yeah, you remember her. Sure, sure. All right. The reason why we talk about that is because typically when we think about those teachers, if we really start to unravel the reasons why we like certain teachers were more effective or whatnot, it's likely that they would align with more of a growth mindset versus those with a more fixed mindset tend to be the ones that we maybe we're not our favorites. We're maybe tying us to chairs and whatnot when we were younger. Hopefully not. Hopefully that's not a universal experience. Because they're not focused. They're focused on the outcomes. They weren't focused on the process of learning. They didn't value effort. They didn't have that whole mindset of a growth mindset. So, and when we think about too, like I work now in an elementary school, is where my office is housed, and I'm part elementary special ed coordinator as well as out of district in my district where I work. And I'm noticing so many beautiful, beautiful things in the elementary school that I'm in about a growth mindset. They've really embraced that kind of just as part of the school culture. And it's really cool to see. There's signs all over the school that say, mistakes welcome here. And, the examples of work are not just, the most perfect examples. They're showing everyone's abilities. And it's really cool to see, or even just the way the classrooms are structured. There's lots of seating options and lots of places for students to have flexibility and really be able to access their learning in really cool ways that didn't exist when I was in elementary school either, certainly. So it's pretty cool to see. And a lot of that comes from this work. All right. So another aspect that we want to consider is how we handle rejection. Oh, someone else in the chat. I loved a lot of my elementary school teachers, but by 8th grade, my math teacher embarrassed me. Oh, those middle school math teachers were brutal on my end too. But by 8th grade, she would make us answer on the spot and wait for an answer and put a spotlight on my difficulty with the subject matter. My 11th grade teacher didn't think I wrote a poem. I did. Oh, I think she doubted a bilingual person could write it. Oh, those are talk about a fixed mindset, right? Generally, people that are bilingual are incredibly intelligent. The brain works in such cool ways to be able to do that. My goodness. 2 instances. Thank you for sharing those. Important. important stuff. I'm actually trying to learn Italian now because I've decided that I want to learn another language. And yeah, it's no joke trying to learn. I mean, I learned, foreign language in high school and whatnot. In college, I did American Sign Language because I thought that would be really cool and I loved it. But it's hard, like lot of respect for people who can speak more than one language. Absolutely. Little side note. Okay, back to this. Definitely challenge, but you can do it. I love that. Awesome. Thank you. How do you handle rejection? So we're not necessarily we don't have to share this with one another, but I want you to just think about a time maybe when you felt rejected or after a rejection. Like, did you feel judged, bitter, vengeful? Did you feel hurt, but hopeful, forgiving? Did you feel like hopeful of forgiving, learning, and moving on? Like what were those feelings? And so maybe think about a time. We can just take a minute to do this. Think about a time, like the worst rejection you've ever experienced. And see if you can remember like how you felt and how you handled it. And see if you can think of it more from a growth mindset perspective. Yeah, it depends on how that rejection is given. Sure. So what did you learn from it? Did it teach you something about what you want or what you didn't want in life? Did it teach you some positive things that were maybe useful, and maybe it was a relationship, so it may be something you learned in later relationships? If it was someone who rejected you or hurt you in some way, can you forgive that person and wish them well? It doesn't mean you invite them back into your life, but you forgive them and kind of let it go. Let go of the bitterness. I find for myself, like I tend to always find what I learned from it. Like anytime there was something, I didn't get a job I applied for, or I didn't get cast as the lead in a play back in the day when that was where I was focusing my energy, or I didn't get cast in a show, or got cut right away from the audition in New York City, whatever it was. Like, but what did I learn from it? What did it teach me? Or I know from working with different teachers or directors over the years, sometimes it was a great example of like what not to do when working with students, how they treated me perhaps, and thinking about, well, I won't do that to someone else. One of my favorite quotes, holding a grudge is like swallowing poison. Yes, I love that. And expecting the other person to die. Yeah. So sometimes when we think about rejection and failure, it's actually great learning. It's like, I'm not saying don't feel your feelings, like feel your feelings, but then once you're over that, see if you can then like reframe it in a growth mindset perspective. It's painful or uncomfortable, but it helps to remind me to sit with my feelings a little bit more. If I can do that and find some lesson or realization, then maybe I can evolve somehow, but it's never easy and always different. Yeah, beautiful. Forgiveness is not for the other person, it's for you. Yes, 100%. 100%. And sometimes those people that we have to forgive are people very close to us, and that can be challenging also. Yeah. So think about that. I mean, sometimes I'll say to my mom, something happened that, my mom's a helper, right? She's my mom. She's also a retired 32-year educator. So like she wants to fix things. So she'll immediately like jump to like solutions. And I'm like, Mom, I'm in my feelings right now. I'll let you know when I'm solutions based. I'll let you know. I'm not ready to hear that right now. Right now, I just need you to listen. We'll solve it in a minute. I'll pick myself back up in a minute. But right now, I'm going to feel my feelings. And that's okay. Sometimes you have to forgive yourself 100%. And really, but think about this now. So the next time you're faced with something, maybe a rejection, or a challenge or a failure of some sort, see if you can come at it from the growth perspective. Think about, and I love this too. I love all of this. This whole concept of growth versus fix. Fantastic failures. Everything on that screen was invented by mistake. They were trying to do something else. So they failed at what they were trying to do. But look what we got out of it. I mean, chocolate chip cookies, Post-it notes. Imagine they weren't trying to do those things to begin with. Or potato chips. Come on. What would we do without these things? Even champagne? Gosh. Ice cream cones, silly, super glue, silly putty, fireworks. I love it. So when we think about, our failures, sometimes they're actually really awesome. A couple of my podcast episodes. Oh, Ivory soap. Is that another one? I didn't know that. Thank you, Maureen. Yeah, I'm sure there's others that we could come up with. But so fun when we think about that. And then we remind ourselves that, Post-it notes. I probably use I've used millions of Post-it notes in my life at this point. I love them. Imagine that. Imagine life without Post-it notes and chocolate chip cookies, because that inventor had a fixed mindset, didn't keep trying, and didn't stumble upon it. It's awesome. Couple of my podcast episodes, as Maureen was mentioning, my podcast in the beginning, we do talk a lot about a growth mindset. There's two episodes that come to mind. Actually, I know Tammy's been listening to a lot of my episodes, if not all of them at this point. Dr. Mitch Ablett's episode, Prizeworthy, which is his, he's actually developed kind of a whole new book and paradigm, very related to Carol Dweck's work, but called Prizeworthy. So instead of, because when we get into like praise and how you praise students and children, versus his whole idea is instead of praising, you prize them. And my podcast is expanding your library. Sorry about that, Tammy. I do recommend a lot of books. I have a different authors on there. And so it happens to me too, because then I want to go buy their book if I haven't already. It's a whole thing. But then another episode called Great Mistakes, with Professor Jane Harden. We talk about failures in that one, and growth mindset, and a lot of trauma stuff actually in that episode also. So very cool. And we'll start, we're not quite done yet, but I want to leave you with this quote by Thomas Edison, which I love. I have not failed. I just found 10,000 ways that won't work. So it's okay to keep trying. It's okay. We want to foster this in ourselves, promote it for others, depending upon the work that you do. If you are a boss and you have a team of people you work with, or your colleagues, when you start hearing them say things like in that fixed mindset vein, start throwing yets at them. Be like, I'm sorry, what? Can't do this yet? See how that goes for you. Hopefully they'll respond positively. But all right. And again, just another plug for self-care, because you can't do any of this if you are too stressed out and not taking care of yourself and frazzled and burning the candle at both ends and working some ridiculous schedule. You're not going to be able to do this. You're going to get burnt out. You're going to be too overwhelmed. So really, when we think about self-care, and what I always talk about, this is not mani-pedis and bubble baths. We're really talking about getting to the root of what makes you, you, and how you show up in the world. So we start to look at things like how we feed ourselves, how we move our body, how we hydrate, how we like to self-soothe ourselves, how we make sure we're staying here in the moment and not worrying about, things 2 weeks from now, how we rest, the relationships we surround ourselves with, how we care for our physical body, how we make sure our environments are supportive and not further fueling anxiety and dis-ease, how we make sure we're coming at ourselves from a place of self-compassion, and we're practicing self-compassion for ourselves as well as others. We tend to treat other people better than we treat ourselves. We need to shift that. And lastly, your spiritual domain, which is how we how we feel inspired, how we set goals, how we see our purpose in the world. So when we start to think about that, and then we can layer on, growth mindset to all of this, it's really quite beautiful and quite powerful. And really, your self-care routine is your foundation. It's some things you do every day on a consistent basis so that you're taking care of your most basic needs, so you show up as the best you possible. And I go into that in much, much more detail in the first session, which again, you can watch. It's still in the alumni library of webinars on the Salem State website, so you can certainly access that. And I share tons of content on social media, in my blog, and in the podcast, and lots of info you can learn about that if that is something you are interested in. And now we're going to wrap up tonight's session with a little guided meditation. So this is a growth mindset, little mantra meditation type thing. I also threw my website, we'll talk about this also at the end, but I did throw the link in the chat, drmcselfcare.com/resources. If you want to head over there and request some resources, a reference sheet from tonight. Oh, thank you so much. And also the link in the chat is the where you can access sessions 1 and 2, and where this one will live at the conclusion of tonight, so that you can continue to enjoy all 4 parts of the Dr. MC series here with Salem State University, which is very exciting. I will say Salem State is a very important piece of my educational history and kind of who I am as a person. Although it's not the only college or university I've attended, it is one that is incredibly special to me for a multitude of reasons. And actually, if you go to the Salem State alum Instagram page, you will see the, I think the link is there for the podcast interview. Is that still up? And you can see that I talk a little bit about why it's so special to me. So anyway, I won't take up your time tonight with that, but let's do this. So I'll leave you with this quote. Your mind is a garden. Your thoughts are the seeds. The harvest will bring either flowers or weeds. So now we're going to just do a little guided meditation. I did not write this. This comes from, I found this on YouTube, but it is a growth mindset, and it was published by a company called Easel, and I just thought it was beautiful, so I want to share it with you. So I invite you right now to just check back in with ourselves. You can sit up in your chair or wherever you are and feel your feet again firmly planted on the ground beneath you. Feel your body supported by the chair that you're on. And just let's just check in, what's going on in your body? How do you feel? What do you need? Are you holding tension? Can you let it go? You can close your eyes or lower your gaze. And just notice your breathing. You don't have to do anything with it. Just notice where you're at. So this special brain boost that's designed to be a mantra or a guided meditation, you can come back to this anytime you're feeling especially challenged at work and you need to cultivate a growth mindset in the face of those challenges. Positive change is the result of working through the challenges before me. Flowers are nature's response for plants that needed to attract pollinators. Leaves were nature's response for plants that needed more energy. The challenges that I face are a natural part of life, and like a beautiful garden, my mind will grow from facing the challenges before me. When I'm stretching my abilities, I expect to make some mistakes. So when these mistakes come, I'm going to react by taking a new approach, by taking a smaller step towards solving a problem. Or when the stakes are especially high, I'm going to use small experiments to test my ideas before I put them into broader action. Each time that I try something new, I'm planting a seed in the garden of my mind. And like a garden, my mind grows from each new challenge that I face. Courage and bravery in the face of my challenges are the fertilizer for the garden of my mind. The belief that I will never be able to do something is the ugly weed in the garden of my mind. And I'm removing these weeds by smiling in the face of new challenges. The garden of my mind is beautiful and ever growing. Let's take one last big deep breath in together, in through the nose, and a long exhale. If your eyes are closed, you can blink them open or raise your gaze. Thank you for allowing me to lead you through that. I hope you felt a sense of calm wash over you, and maybe even a little newfound perspective on how you show up in the world. And thank you for also putting the link in the chat for the link to the podcast so you can listen to the podcast episode that I did if you're curious. But yeah, that just about wraps us up for tonight. I do have some references that I can share with you about books that I've read on this topic that I think are really good. This is again where you can access the resources. And also, fun fact, my artist here is my mother. You can see she did this adorable little drawing of me. She's also a Salem State alum, which is kind of fun. Yay, Salem State. And here we are, Dr. MC. Dr. MC Self-Care Cabaret. Find me on social media at Dr. MC Self-Care. I also have a podcast that's been mentioned, a blog. I'm on social media all the time. I also do workshops on this topic as well as other topics, much longer in length or shorter, whatever you need. You can always reach out and request a workshop at your school, business, or organization. I do have a new program in the works that I'm really excited about. It's all centered around mental health for students. And so that I won't share any more at this moment in time, but keep your eye out for that because that's coming at you. And we are definitely seeing, an uptick in mental health, not only with our students, but also with our staff. And just really, this has been very challenging time right now. So I am hoping to use my expertise to help people during this time. So thank you for joining me this evening. You're very welcome. And if you have any questions, I'm happy to stay on, but I hope we can connect in another way. And as always, thank you, Salem State, for bringing me back to hang out with you.